20 legendary bands from the 1970s we want back. The 1970s brought us some truly unforgettable bands. Wondering which ones really define that decade. From cool funk to classic rock anthems, these groups shaped a whole generation. Let's take a look at the bands you really ought to have on your playlist. Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, a real game-changer rock band from England, formed in London back in 1968. The famous lineup was Robert Plant singing, Jimmy Page on guitar, John Paul Jones handling bass and keyboards, and John Bonham on drums. Their powerful, guitar-heavy sound really helped define hard rock and heavy metal, pulling in influences from blues and folk that gave them wide appeal. These guys changed rock music, focusing more on albums than singles, which helped kickstart album-oriented rock. They also became huge stadium rock stars, playing massive shows worldwide. Their impact on music is still felt today. Led Zeppelin racked up plenty of honors. They entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1995 and the UK Music Hall of Fame in 2006. They also picked up an American Music Award, the Polar Music Prize, a Kennedy Center Honor, and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005. 4 of their albums are even in the Grammy Hall of Fame. Their album sales were incredible, with 5 diamond albums and tons of platinum and gold records in the US and UK. Back in 2004, Rolling Stone called them the 14th greatest artist ever. Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac got its start back in London in 1967, thanks to Peter Green. Pretty soon, Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Jeremy Spencer, and Danny Kirwan were on board. Christine Perfect, who later married John McVie, joined up in 1970. At first, they were a British blues band and even had a UK #1 hit with Albatross back in '68. But the band really found its groove in 1974 when Mick Fleetwood recruited Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. That shifted them toward the pop rock sound we know so well. Their self-titled 1975 album, Fleetwood Mac, topped the charts here in the States. Then came Rumors in 1977, one album. Hits like Go Your Own Way and Dreams made it massive, and it even won the Grammy for Album of the Year. It's amazing they made such timeless music with all the relationship drama happening behind the scenes. Even though the lineup shuffled around quite a bit, especially later on, Fleetwood Mac kept making music and hitting the road. Selling over 120 million records worldwide puts them among the all-time bestsellers. Plus, they got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame since '79, are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame '98, and even picked up a major Brit Award. Queen. These British rock legends, fronted by the one and only Freddie Mercury, were simply phenomenal. From the operatic masterpiece Bohemian Rhapsody to stadium shakers like We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, all huge in the '70s, they had an incredible range. Their musicianship, theatrical flair, and Mercury's unbelievable voice created a sound and stage presence that's never been matched. We could always use more of their ambitious, boundary-pushing rock anthems that made you feel like you could take on the world. Aerosmith. Talk about American rock royalty. Aerosmith exploded in the '70s with their bluesy, hard rock swagger. Steven Tyler's iconic vocals and Joe Perry's killer guitar riffs gave us classics like Dream On, Sweet Emotion, and Walk This Way. They had that raw energy and rock star attitude that defined the era. While they had later comebacks, their '70s output was pure, gritty rock and roll fuel. That kind of down and dirty rock sound is something you don't hear much anymore, and it's definitely missed. You couldn't ignore Kiss in the '70s. With the makeup, the costumes, and the explosive live shows, literally, they were larger than life. But beneath the spectacle was some fantastic hard rock. Anthems like Rock and Roll All Night, Detroit Rock City, and Shout It Out Loud were pure, uncomplicated fun. They brought a sense of showmanship and pure entertainment to rock music that was totally unique. That level of commitment to the show combined with solid rock tunes is something we could use more of today. The Eagles. The Eagles, a truly great American rock band, got together in Los Angeles in 1971. They pretty much owned the 70s music scene with hit after hit, including lots of #1 singles and albums. They snagged 6 Grammys, 5 American Music Awards, and sold over 200 million records globally, 150 million right here in the USA. The original guys were Glenn Frey, Don Henley, Bernie Leadon, and Randy Meisner. Linda Ronstadt actually brought them together for her band and album. Soon after, they struck out on their own with David Geffen's new label, Asylum Records. Boy, did that work out. They're their greatest hits, 197, 1975. Album sold 38 million copies in the US, becoming the best-selling album ever here. That set the stage for Hotel California in 1976, which sold over 26 million in the US and gave us huge hits like New Kid in Town and the title track. Timothy B. Schmidt took over for Randy Meisner in 1977. Their 1979 album, The Long Run, gave us the #1 hit, Heartache Tonight. After splitting in 1980, they got back together in 1994 for Hell Freezes Over. They even released another #1 album, Long Road Out of Eden, in 2007. After Glenn Frey sadly passed away in 2016, his son Deacon Frey and Vince Gill stepped in. Deacon left in 2022, but came back for their final tour in 2023. That same year, founding member Randy Meisner passed away. Still, the Eagles' legacy as one of the best-selling and most important bands ever is rock solid. ABBA, the famous pop group from Sweden, formed in Stockholm in 1972 and became a global sensation. The name comes from the first letters of the members, Agnetha Faltskog, Björn Ulvaeus, Benny Andersson, and Annie Frid Lyngstad. They were huge from 1974 to 1982 and even had a successful reunion from 2016 to 2022. ABBA really hit the big time in 1974 when they won the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo, Sweden's first win. That song was later called the best in Eurovision history. Their catchy tunes and great harmonies topped charts all over the world. Interestingly, the group had 2 married couples, Agnetha and Bjorn and Annie Frid and Benny. As they got more famous, both marriages hit rough patches and eventually ended. You could hear this change in their later, sometimes more thoughtful songs. After they split in 1982, Andersson and Ulvaeus kept writing hit musicals and film scores, while Faltskog and Lyngstad had solo careers. ABBA sold somewhere between 150 million and 385 million records worldwide, making them one of the best-selling groups ever. They were the 3rd biggest single seller in the UK by 2012. In 2020, they got a Brit Billion Award for over 1 billion streams in the UK. Impressively, they were the first group not from an English-speaking country to have consistent success in places like the UK, US, Canada, and Australia. They're the best-selling Swedish band ever and true global pop icons. Which 70s band do you think had the most lasting impact on music history? Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd, easily one of rock's biggest names, started in England in 1965. They first got noticed for their British psychedelic rock sound, really standing out with their long songs, sound experiments, deep lyrics, and amazing live shows. Many folks think they're the greatest progressive rock band ever. The first lineup had Syd Barrett, guitar/vocals, Nick Mason, drums, Roger Waters, bass/vocals, and Richard Wright, keyboard/vocals. Led by Barrett, they had hits like Arnold Lane and See Emily Play, plus a hit debut album, The Piper of the Gates of Dawn. Sadly, Syd Barrett's mental health issues led to him leaving in 1968, and David Gilmour joined on guitar. The band had its share of troubles. Richard Wright left in 1979 due to conflicts but came back later, becoming a full member again in 1994. Roger Waters left in 1985, but Gilmour and Mason carried on, eventually bringing right back too. By 2013, Pink Floyd had sold over 250 million records worldwide, making them one of the top-selling acts ever. Albums like The Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall were huge culturally and are in the Grammy Hall of Fame. Along with Wish You Were Here, these albums are massive sellers and true rock classics. Pink Floyd's impact on music is undeniable. The Doors. The Doors were a legendary rock band out of Los Angeles, formed in 1965. The group featured the magnetic lead singer Jim Morrison, Ray Manzarek on keyboards, Robbie Krieger on guitar, and John Densmore on drums. They really shook up the music scene in the 60s with Morrison's unique voice, poetic lyrics, and wild stage presence. They got their name from Aldous Huxley's book, The Doors of Perception, and signed with Elektra Records in 1966. In just 5 years, they put out 6 studio albums, including their famous debut in Strange Days in the same year. Their mix of rock, blues, and psychedelic sounds made them incredibly popular, selling millions. Tragically, Morrison died in 1971. The band tried to carry on as a trio for a bit, releasing 2 more albums before breaking up in 1973. Later, the surviving members even toured under names like the Doors of the 21st Century, selling over 100 million albums worldwide. The Doors were one of the first American bands to get 8 gold LPs in a row. Their huge influence was recognized in 1993 when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Bee Gees. The Bee Gees, the iconic group formed by brothers Barry, Robin, and Maurice Gibb back in 1958, are pop music royalty. They got famous in the late 60s and early 70s, but really hit superstardom during the disco craze of the mid to late 70s. Their amazing vocal harmonies set them apart. Robin's clear voice was key early on, but Barry's falsetto became their signature sound during the disco years. These brothers weren't just singers. They wrote and produced all their own hits. Plus, they wrote and produced massive hits for other artists too, showing just how influential they were across pop music. This flexibility helped them stay popular through different music trends. People called them the Disco Kings and Britain's first family of harmony, selling between 120 million and 220 million records globally makes them one of the best-selling groups ever and one of the most successful trios around. In 1997, the Bee Gees rightfully entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The hall noted that only giants like Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and Michael Jackson had outsold them. Their music continues to influence people everywhere. The Carpenters. The Carpenters were the brother-sister duo Karen and Richard Carpenter. Known for their smooth, soft rock sound, Karen's rich voice and Richard's talent for arranging music made them huge in the 1970s. Originally from Connecticut, they moved to California in 1963. Richard focused on piano, and Karen played drums. They started performing together around 1965. They hit it big with a run of hits, including 3 #1 songs. Their gentle, melodic style was a big part of the soft rock sound of the era. They toured constantly in the 70s, but the heavy schedule wore them down. Richard took time off in 1981 for addiction issues, while Karen struggled with anorexia nervosa. Tragically, Karen died in 1983 at just 32 from heart failure related to her eating disorder. Even though their time was cut short, the Carpenters left a lasting mark. They sold over 100 million records and really shaped the soft rock sound. Their music is still loved, and Karen's story sadly brought much-needed attention to eating disorders. Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, started in England in 1968, is pretty much credited with inventing heavy metal. The original guys were Tony Iommi, guitar, Bill Ward, drums, Geezer Butler, bass, and Ozzy Osbourne, vocals. Their dark, heavy sound, often touching on occult themes, completely changed rock music and created the blueprint for heavy metal. Before becoming Black Sabbath in 1969, they went by names like the polka tulp blues band and Earth. Their first album, Black Sabbath, 1970, was a landmark, even if critics didn't like it at first. Paranoid came out later that year and was a huge hit, featuring the classic track Iron Man and cementing their place in rock history. Their sound was unique with those deep, distorted guitar riffs and lyrics about darker subjects. Albums like Black Sabbath, Paranoid, and Master of Reality were crucial in shaping the heavy metal genre and inspired countless bands. Ozzy Osbourne left in 1979, but Black Sabbath kept going with different lineups, though Tony Iommi was always there. By 2013, they'd sold over 70 million records worldwide. MTV even called them the greatest metal band ever. Black Sabbath earned plenty of awards, getting into the UK Music Hall of Fame 2005 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2006. They won 2 Grammys for Best Metal Performance and got a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019. Their heavy sound still echoes through rock and metal today. Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd, the legendary Southern rock band, started in Jacksonville, Florida, back in 1964 as My Backyard. They settled on the name Lynyrd Skynyrd and their core lineup around 1969, with Ronnie Van Zant singing, Gary Rossington and Alan Collins on guitar, Larry Junstrom on bass, and Bob Burns drumming. By the mid-70s, after their 1973 debut album, the band included Leon Wilkeson on bass, Billy Powell on keyboards, and Ed King on guitar. Their Southern rock anthems like Sweet Home Alabama and Free Bird made them huge stars in the 70s. Then, tragedy struck in 1977 when a plane crash killed Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, and backup singer Cassie Gaines, and badly injured the others. Despite the heartbreak, Lynyrd Skynyrd regrouped in 1987 for a tour, with Ronnie's brother Johnny Van Zant taking over lead vocals. They kept making music and touring. Rolling Stone named them one of the 100 greatest artists of all time in 2004, and they joined the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006. Even with more loss, like Gary Rossington passing in 2023, Lynyrd Skynyrd remains one of America's great rock bands, having sold over 28 million records just in the US. Their farewell tour started in 2018, though they played shows into 2020. Creedence Clearwater Revival, CCR. Creedence Clearwater Revival, or CCR, was a really important rock band for California. It featured John Fogerty as lead singer and songwriter, his brother Tom Fogerty on guitar, Stu Cook on bass, and Doug Clifford on drums. They played together since 1959, but officially became CCR in 1967. Between 1969 and 1972, CCR was unstoppable, scoring 14 top 10 singles and 7 top 10 albums in the US. 2 albums, Green River and Cosmo's Factory, hit number 1. They were also the first big band to sign up for Woodstock in 1969. Sadly, after just 4 amazing years, the band broke up in 1972. It was a messy split involving disagreements over business and creative control, leading to legal battles. Despite all that, CCR's music is still incredibly popular. John Fogerty continues to perform their hits, and Cook and Clifford later formed a tribute band called Creedence Clearwater Revisited. CCR songs are still all over classic rock radio. Their 1976 Greatest Hits album, Chronicle, has sold over 28 million copies in the US and is still on the charts today, proof of their lasting appeal in rock music. What's your favorite song from the era? Feel free to share in the comments below. The Ramones. The Ramones, a groundbreaking punk rock band from New York City, formed in 1974. Many consider them the very first true punk band, and they were key in making punk popular in the US. They weren't huge sellers, but their influence on punk is undeniable. Every member took the last name Ramone, inspired by Paul McCartney's old alias Paul Ramone. These guys played over 2,200 shows in their 22 years, known for their fast, short, high-energy songs that became punk's signature sound. They called it quits after a final show in LA in 1996. Sadly, by 2014, all four original members Joey, DD, Johnny, and Tommy had passed away. Other members like CJ, Marky, Richie, and Elvis Ramone kept playing music. The Ramones are now seen as one of rock's most influential bands. Rolling Stone ranked them 26th among the 100 greatest artists, and Spin magazine put them second only to the Beatles. They got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2002. The Clash. The Clash was a hugely important English rock band formed in London in 1976, right at the start of British punk rock. Sometimes called the only band that matters, they helped shape post-punk and new wave music. They were known for mixing punk with reggae, dub, funk, ska, and rockabilly. The main guys were Joe Strummer, vocal/rhythm guitar, Mick Jones, lead guitar/vocals, Paul Simon on bass, and Nicky Topper Heaton drums. But troubles like Heaton's drug problems led to him leaving in 1982, and Jones left in 1983. The Clash kept going with new members, but finally broke up in 1986. Their first albums made them big in the UK, but their third album, London Calling, launched them internationally, especially in the US. Rolling Stone even called it the best album of the 1980s. After one more album, Cut the Crap, in 1985, the band split. In 2003, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Badfinger. Badfinger, a rock band from Wales, started strong in the late 60s and was even tipped as the next Beatles. They were the first band signed to the Beatles' Apple Records in 1968. Their catchy power pop gave them worldwide hits like Come and Get It, 1969, No Matter What, 1970, Day After Day, 1971, and Baby Blue, 1972. But even with hit songs, Badfinger struggled with money and legal problems, especially after Apple Records fell apart. These issues really hurt their career. Tragically, singer Pete Ham died by suicide in 1975, and guitarist/bassist Tom Evans did the same in 1983. Drummer Mike Gibbons died in 2005, leaving guitarist Joey Moland as the only surviving member from their classic days. Badfinger's story is one of great talent hit hard by troubles. UFO. UFO is a British rock band that started back in 1968. Over the years, lots of great musicians have been part of the band, like Vinnie Moore, Pete Way, Michael Schenker, and Paul Raymond. While they never became chart superstars, UFO definitely made their mark on rock and metal. Tracks like Lights Out and Dr. Doctor were important links between early hard rock/heavy metal and the new wave of British heavy metal that came later in the 70s. Their live album Strangers in the Night, 1979, is considered one of the best live albums ever recorded and really cemented their reputation. UFO might not have topped the mainstream charts, but their influence on hard rock and metal is still felt today. Earth, Wind, and Fire. If you wanted to feel good and dance in the 70s, Earth, Wind, and Fire was your band. Led by Maurice White, their blend of funk, soul, R&B, jazz, and disco, complete with soaring harmonies and an amazing horn section, was pure joy. Hits like September, Shining Star, and Boogie Wonderland are infectious and uplifting. Their positive energy and incredible live performances were legendary. We absolutely need that kind of joyful, musically rich, get up and dance music back in the mainstream. Journey. Journey really got going in San Francisco back in 1973, starting out with some former members of Santana, like guitarist Neil Schon and keyboardist Greg Rowley. Their early sound in the mid-70s was more progressive rock and jazz fusion, showcased on albums like their self-titled debut and Look into the Future. While respected musicians, they weren't finding huge commercial success. That all changed dramatically in 1977 when they brought in singer Steve Perry. His powerful, soaring voice shifted their sound towards more melodic, arena-ready rock. This new direction clicked immediately with audiences. Albums like Infinity, 1978, and Evolution, 1979, exploded onto the charts with hits like Will in the Sky and Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin', setting the stage for their massive superstardom in the early 80s. Their 70s evolution was incredible to watch. ZZ Top. That little old band from Texas, ZZ Top, formed way back in 1969 and spent the early 70s honing their unique brand of bluesy boogie rock. Billy Gibbons on guitar, Dusty Hill on bass, and Frank Beard on drums were the constant lineup, delivering a sound that was raw, greasy, and unmistakably Texan. Albums like Tres Hombres, 1973, which gave us the iconic anthem La Grange, and Fandango, 1975, with a hit Tush, really put them on the map. Their live shows were legendary for their tight musicianship and Gibbons' incredible guitar tone. They weren't just playing the blues, they were adding a hard rock edge and a Texas swagger that was all their own. Throughout the 70s, they built a fiercely loyal following with their consistent groove and down-to-earth image, laying the groundwork before their huge MTV splash in the 80s. AC/DC. Formed in Sydney, Australia, in 1973 by brothers Malcolm and Angus Young, AC/DC defined straightforward, high-voltage rock and roll. Their early sound, driven by bluesy riffs and Bon Scott's uniquely gritty and often cheeky vocals, was pure, raw energy. Throughout the 70s, they delivered electrifying albums like High Voltage, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Let There Be Rock, and Powerage. These records established their signature sound, loud, powerful, and built around unforgettable guitar riffs. Angus Young, in his schoolboy uniform, became an instant icon. They broke through internationally in a huge way with Highway to Hell in 1979, a massive hit that cemented their status as global rock giants just before Scott's tragic death. Their 70s output laid the perfect foundation for their incredible resilience and continued success. Van Halen. When Van Halen dropped their self-titled debut album in 1978, the rock world was completely electrified. Hailing from Pasadena, California, the band featuring brothers Eddie Van Halen on guitar and Alex Van Halen on drums, Michael Anthony on bass, and the charismatic David Lee Roth on vocals, brought something totally fresh. Eddie's revolutionary guitar playing, full of innovative techniques like tapping, sounded like nothing else before. Combined with Roth's high-energy stage presence and swagger, in a rhythm section that was pure power, they were unstoppable. That first album gave us instant classics like Runnin' with the Devil, Ain't Talking About Love, and Eddie's mind-blowing solo Eruption. They quickly followed up with Van Halen 2 in 1979, proving they were no fluke. They injected a much-needed shot of fun, flash, and sheer musical virtuosity into the late 70s rock scene. Heart. Led by the incredibly talented Wilson sisters in vocals and Nancy guitar, Heart burst onto the scene from Seattle in the mid-70s with a sound that powerfully blended hard rock muscle with folk sensibilities. And soaring, operatic vocals were simply stunning, and Nancy's guitar work provided both acoustic elegance and electric crunch. Their 1975 debut album, Dreamboat Annie, was a sensation, featuring massive hits like the dynamic Crazy on You and the haunting Magic Man. They proved female musicians could front a hard-rocking band and achieve huge success. Their follow-up, Little Queen, 1977, delivered another rock radio staple, the driving anthem Barracuda. Heart stood out in the male-dominated rock landscape of the 70s, showcasing exceptional songwriting, musicianship, and proving women could rock just as hard, if not harder. Let me know in the comments if I missed any bands you loved. If you like this trip down memory lane with 70s rock legends, check out our other videos. Don't forget to subscribe and share Gold Days USA with your pals. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time for more music memories. More music memories. More music memories. More music memory.